back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and welcome to another of the 12 Days of Christmas. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. You may have noticed at this point that my channel is primarily here to talk about books and the things that I'm reading, but I do also highlight other things that I'm enjoying, other cozy hobbies that I might have, and so as a result, I do talk about video gaming. Not all the time, but usually at least seasonally when I'm sharing my seasonal favorites, I usually tell you what I've been playing and enjoying. But a video that I like to make every single year at the end of the year is a video tier ranking every single video game that I played during that year. So I'm doing it again. I'm going to be sharing the games that I played with you. I have 20 games here on this list, which is actually substantially lower than previous years. The past couple of years, I've played at least 30 games, and so this is definitely on the lower end for me. But I saw a decrease in my reading as well, in busyness in my life, so I think that that's true across the board for me. My hobbies is that there has been less time spent on hobbies in 2025, and that's totally okay. I do play entirely on the Switch. We got a Switch 2 in June when it came out, and so half of these games would have been played on the original Switch, half on the Switch 2. We do still have our original Switch, but I tend to mostly play on the Switch 2 now that we have that, so I'll let you know if I played on one system rather than the other. I think most of these games can be played on either and were ones that I did purchase on the original Switch, but there are some exceptions to that. So I have my laptop here, and I am going to share with you kind of what my tier ranking is. I have different categories. I decided to do that instead of like S, A, B, and C this year. So I have a category at the very top, which is replay, because I did have some games that I replayed this year. I usually don't talk about replays when I do these, but the games that I replayed, I spent a substantial amount of time playing those games, so I wanted to include them for that reason. I also have new favorites, so games that I just loved that are the top of the top. I have a fun category for games that I just thought were fun, but you know, maybe not as memorable and not a favorite. Then I have the not for me section, so this is where I don't feel like this game is objectively bad, it just didn't work for me for whatever reason. And then I have games that I legitimately thought were a waste of money. So first on the list is Breath of the Wild. This is a Legend of Zelda game. Everyone's heard of this game. It's been around for years and years and years. I have actually played it before, but I kind of was at a disadvantage because the first time I played it, I wanted to do all the things. I wanted to complete everything. And so as a result, I had beat all of the bosses, like all of the divine beasts. I had all of those things done. I was trying to get all the side quests done before I finally went to the castle to go fight Ganon, and by the time I was ready, I had completely burned myself out on doing literally everything else. So when the Switch 2 came out and there were upgrades and things, I really, really wanted to replay it on the Switch 2, and I wanted to finally beat it this time, and I'm happy to report that I did. I was very pleased that I finally beat Ganon in that game, so I really was happy about that. So it'll be no surprise at all to you that Breath of the Wild is going in the replay tier where it deserves to be. Not only because it was replayed, but it definitely deserves to be replayed again and again. Next up, we have a newer game. My daughter just purchased this just like a week or two ago, so I haven't put as much game time into this, but I think I can still put this on here even without that, because we did play it for probably a couple of hours. It's called Cozy Tiny Home. This is a cute little game that just has you building rooms. So you can choose the shape of your room, you can choose the kind of furniture you want to put in there, the kind of wallpaper, flooring. There are cute little animals that you can put in there. I think there are bears and dogs and cats and bunnies. It's very cute. It's open-ended. Lots of fun. We really liked it. The little bit that we played, it actually reminds me of Minami Lane, which I played last year, except Minami Lane did have parts where you could play like the main game that had quests and things that you could do and roles to fulfill in this little street that you're creating. But Minami Lane also had like an open sandbox mode, and that's kind of what Tiny Cozy Home reminds me of. So Cozy Tiny Home is definitely like not a favorite. I don't know if I'm actually going to pick it up again, but my daughter has played it a couple of times. So overall, we got it for like a couple of dollars. So I guess it's fun, but it's also kind of not for me. So I'm going to put it in the not for me section just because it's not really, but I do think that it's a good game for the price. And I think it's really, really cute. I just need a little bit more direction in my games, I think. Next up, we have Cook, Serve, Delicious 2. This is a really fun cooking game. It's really intense and actually kind of stressful. So you work in this tower that has a bunch of different restaurants. You're trying to open your own restaurant. So what you do is you get to work at all these other restaurants that are in this tower. So they all have different kind of niches. They're like burger places and Italian places and sushi places and ice cream places. And so you work at these different restaurants, and the more that you work there and the more that you kind of upgrade and go through the levels, the more you unlock things for your own restaurant in terms of decorations, but also menu items. And so it's really interactive in that way. And I thought it was just like so much fun. It definitely is not very relaxing. It's definitely stressful, but I thought it was a blast, and I played it for a while and then I stopped playing it, and then I came back to it again and played it for a while and then stopped playing it and then came back to it again over and over and over again for several months. It was just so much fun. I got it on a fantastic sale in the Nintendo eShop. Like I paid $2 for it, and I bought Cook Serve Delicious 3 at the same time, but I still haven't picked that one up. So for Cook Serve Delicious 2, this is definitely a new favorite for me. It's one I'm going to come back to and play over and over and over again. Next up, we have two games that are kind of they're similar because they're the same style of game, the same type of game, but different storylines, and those are the Duck Detective games. The first one came out early this year, I think, and it's just so much fun. You play as this duck who is a detective, like a hard-boiled noir detective. You know, his wife has left him and he's got a bread problem. Instead of like a drinking problem. And so it's very funny. And you just go through and search for clues and try to solve the mystery. So the first one is the secret salami, and someone's sandwich has been stolen from the break room of this workplace. And so someone calls the duck detective to come in and solve this mystery. And as it turns out, there's more going on there than just the sandwich to uncover. And it's just a lot of fun. So you go around and you interview different people who are working there, search for clues, you hack into people's computers, and it's just a very funny game and like really enjoyable. I love the art style. It's like a Paper Mario style art. And I just really like it. The second one is The Ghost of Glamping. So in this one, Duck Detective goes on a little trip with a friend of his, and they end up staying at this haunted campground. And in the haunted campground, there are things that are happening, and they have to figure out if there's really a ghost here or if there isn't, and what's going on with all of that stuff. And spoiler for the second one, but there is a capybara in it, which instantly makes me really, really like it. So it was a lot of fun. Both of them were very fun. Both of them were relatively short play times. I think I spent more time on the first game than the second game, and I thought that the mystery and the clues in the second game were a lot easier than the first game. So I think that that's part of the reason why. I thought the storyline was a little bit more funny in the first one. So I think I liked the first one a little bit better than I liked the second one. But they were both a lot of fun. I liked both of them a lot. So I think I'm going to put them both in the fun category because I don't know how much replay value they actually have. Next up, we have Echoes of Plum Grove. This is a cozy game that was really making the rounds earlier this year. It was very popular, and I found out about it the same day that I discovered that it was on sale. So I picked it up and was like super excited about it. Initially, Echoes of Plum Grove looks like a normal cozy farming game. You move to a new town and you're fixing up a house and an area. You start planting things, all of that kind of thing. But there are other things at play here. There is an opportunity for your town to become ill and illness to pass from person to person, and half your town can be wiped out from like smallpox or other kinds of viruses that are spreading. And so that sounded so unique and so different, as well as the aspect that you can die in this game. And when you do, you then like take over playing your children. So you can continue the generation of the farm, provided you were able to get married and have a child before you died. So it sounded like it was going to be so unique, so fun. I loved the art style. Again, it kind of reminded me of Paper Mario, the way that things were like cut out and just the way that things moved. So I really was looking forward to playing this. Unfortunately, this is probably maybe my biggest disappointment of the year. It's one of like two of my most disappointing games for a couple of reasons. So, first of all, the whole thing where you are trying to marry someone in the town, they will also marry each other. So, if you have your eyes on someone and you don't like befriend them enough and propose to them in time, they might marry someone else. But it's weird because everyone's kind of like equal opportunists and anyone could marry anyone, to the point where my first playthrough, when I was playing, the schoolmaster married one of his male students. Like this little boy was just a kid in the school like the day before, and then they were married, and I was like, this is weird. I don't know if he's supposed to be a grown up now, but he doesn't look that much older, and this is really really, really weird. Then there's the quests and things that they have you do, and those are so repetitive. Like, there will be things on the board for people wanting you to do things for them, and every single day there's a quest from one of the children in school. It may be a different one at different times, but every single time they're missing the same toy, and it's in the same place, and you have to get it and figure out which child it goes to that day. And when you're gathering supplies, you literally have to shake the same exact tree every single day. You have to go to the same spot every day to gather the same thing, and every single quest is like just very repetitive. And so I was really disappointed with the game. I felt like it got really old really fast. Unlike other cozy games I've played where you do have to gather supplies and there is a level of sameness when you're grinding and getting things done, but this just like, I don't know, it was exactly the same every single day, and I really didn't like it. So I'm kind of tempted to put Echoes and Plum Grove and Not For Me because so many people love it. But honestly, I really do feel like it was a waste of money. I paid $15 for it when it was on sale, and it was not worth that for sure. So unfortunately, that's where I'm putting that. If you were someone who loved Echoes of Plum Grove, I'm really, really glad that you did, because I really wanted to. It was really cute, but I just couldn't take it. Next up we have is The Seat Taken. This is a puzzle solving game that I thought was a lot of fun. So in this game, you have different scenarios that happen in different levels. So you might have all kinds of people that want to get on a bus at the same time, or maybe they're all coming into a movie theater at the same time, or a restaurant. You have to seat every single person there where they want to be seated. So some person on the bus might say, I want to sit by a window. So you can't sit them in an aisle seat. Someone else might say, I want to be next to someone who wants to talk. So you have to put the chatty people together. Someone else might say, I want to take a nap on the bus. So you need to make sure you don't sit them next to the people who are talking, or they won't be able to sleep. The same is true with people who come in who smell bad. Either they have cologne or they smell terrible, and there are going to be people who say, I can't be near that. When you get into the restaurants, there are people who want to eat specific things, so you have to put the right amount of food in front of each person and seat them with who they want to be seated with. And so it was just a really, really fun puzzle solving game. It's relatively short, but it's also pretty inexpensive, so definitely feel like it was worth it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Much like the Duck Detective games, I'm not really sure how much replayability there is for this one, but I feel like there might be more than Duck Detective because there are enough levels. And also, I feel like the developers of the game might actually add some more to it later as well. So I am going to put this in the fun category, but I'm going to put it ahead of the Duck Detective games. Next, we have Discounty, which is a game that was highly anticipated for me personally. And this is a game where you play as someone who is working at a grocery store. It was kind of a different take on a cozy game for me. There's no farming involved or anything like that. You move to this little tiny town where your aunt wants your help in running her grocery store. So you have to set up the grocery store, you have to purchase the supplies, you have to purchase the shelves, you have to organize your shop in such a way that it is the most effective for your customers. You have to check out your customers quickly, or they might get upset and leave, or you might get a bad score. And so all these things contribute, and there are daily things and tasks you have to do. But at the same time, you have to build relationships with vendors in the town who might sell something that you can't get from ordering online. And so it's just really fun, the dynamics of it. I really love the pixel art style, and I just thought it was a lot of fun. There is a whole underpinning of things happening in this town and mysteries that you're trying to uncover as well. So there's an actual storyline happening in addition to just the daily tasks of running a grocery store. I actually could see myself replaying this game. I I don't know if it was a new favorite. That's kind of hard for me. It's kind of in between fun and a new favorite because I feel like I would play this again. I feel like I had a great time with it. And it did have a really good like sense of humor in it as well. There, you can't really build relationships with the townspeople, so that kind of made it, I think, a little bit less for me. So for right now, I'm gonna actually put it at the top of the fun category. Next up, we have Echoes of Wisdom, which is another Zelda game. This is very different from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. It's much more reminiscent of a traditional Zelda game if you grew up playing those. But in this, you actually play as Zelda rather than as Link. Things happen at the beginning of the game where Link is actually imprisoned by the big bad and you have to go and save him. But it's really interesting because you can't fight like Link would fight. So you end up pairing up with this little creature called Tri, who gives you this rod to where you can create echoes. So you can create echoes to solve puzzles by being able to create like rocks or boxes or things to climb on to get to places that you need to be. Or you can use them even once you've defeated an enemy. You can create echoes of that enemy that will fight for you in battles. It was really unique, really fun. I actually started this game last year because Claire received it for Christmas, but I didn't play very much of it. I kind of forgot about it and started playing other games, and I literally just picked it back up in November and just beat this game last week. And let me tell you, I had such a blast. I'm super glad I replayed this game, and it actually is a new favorite. I think I liked it more than Cook Serve Delicious, so I'm gonna put it right there. I did mention that we got the Switch 2. With the Switch 2, we got the bundle that included Mario Kart World, which is the newest Mario Kart game. This is such an interesting take because they're trying to find ways to keep Mario Kart fresh and new while still retaining the elements that make people love Mario Kart. So it does have races, but the interesting thing is that when you do a circuit, which is, like 4 races in a row, the first lap of your race of the second and third and fourth race is going to be you going from your initial course to the next course. And that is just so fun. I thought that was just such a blast to add that. And then there's also, you can play in open world mode where you can just drive your cart all around the world. You can also collect different outfits for all of your racers, which is really fun. So you can swap out the way that they look. And so they added a lot of things to kind of make this feel different and fresh and fun while still retaining all of the charm of the original Mario Kart games and all the games that have led up to this. I didn't play this a ton because I'm not as big of a Mario Kart person as both my husband and my daughter are, but I still thought it was fun. I still thought it was well done, and I had a great time playing it. It's one of those games where I feel like a lot of people would probably rank it higher than I'm going to, but I'm going to put it in the fun category because I had fun with it and felt like it was worth the money, but also like racing games just aren't typically my favorite type of game. Next up, we have Neva. This is a game that is by the same creators as Gris, which maybe you have seen in recent years. That's very beautiful art style, and Neva is no different in terms of the art style. You play as this person who has this little pup called Neva, who is running along and helping you in your quest, and as you're continuing throughout the story, Neva gets older and has more power and all those kinds of things. I really did enjoy this game, but I didn't complete it. And the reason for that is that I got stuck at a certain point and couldn't figure out how I needed to progress beyond that point, because there are puzzles in this game, but there's also combat, and I kind of got stuck and was going to come back to it, and then I didn't. So this is a game I definitely am going to pick up again and play again because I thought it was really, really beautiful. I can already tell the ending will probably make me very sad, but I did think it was just really beautifully done. So for that reason, I am going to put Neva, I think I'm going to put it in between the two Duck Detective games because I did find it really enjoyable, and I think it probably has more replay value than Duck Detective, but you still might remember like the puzzles that you solved. Next up is my other very disappointing game of the year, and that's Petite Island. The description of this game sounded like everything that I wanted. You play as this cute little cat who comes to this island because you find out your grandfather is starting to lose his memory, and you want to go to this island that he mentioned adventuring with his friends when he was a child, in hopes that you can bring memories and things back from the island to help your grandfather remember better. It sounds like such a sweet premise, and it's also open world. Once you get to this island, you can just go and explore, and that was the reason why I picked up this game, is because I thought, wow, open world exploration, and it's a cute cat. That sounds like so much fun. The graphics were adorable, and the gameplay itself wasn't terrible in terms of like the mechanics of the game, but the way that you ended up having to fulfill quests really was. Literally everything in this game was a fetch quest, and so someone would say, hey, I need you to get this, so then you'd have to go way far away and get that thing, then come back and find that person and give it to them, and they're like, oh, thanks, yeah, that's what I need, but I also need this. And so then you'd have to go all the way in another direction and get that thing and come back to that person, and then they'd say, oh, that's great, also could you do this? And it was just like constant, like going back and forth. Like one person would give you like 3 things you needed to do, but not all at once. You had to do each one individually and go back and forth. And even though it was open world and you could explore, there was nothing that you could do in between these quests. So you couldn't be working on multiple things at once. You couldn't be gathering supplies at the same time you're trying to fulfill this quest. You couldn't be doing any of those kinds of things. And so as a result, despite the fact it's an open world, it made it feel like a very empty world. It looked cute, but there were so many things you could not interact with, and people even that you couldn't interact with. Again, this is a game that I purchased on sale, and yet I do feel like it was a waste of money. I think it was probably even worse than Plum Grove in terms of how disappointing. Well, no, Plum Grove was more disappointing, but Petite Island felt like it had even less going for it than Echoes of Plum Grove. Next up, we have Pine Hearts, which is a sweet, short little game that I played early on in the summer. So in this game, you play this little guy who grew up going to this campground with his dad. And so at the beginning of the game, you're going back to revisit these things that you experienced with your dad, and you used to go camping with him. And so you explore throughout the world and you find different campsites. At each campsite, people have things that they want you to do for them. And you have this, like, I forget what it's called, almost currency that you collect that help build up your memory. And so when you filled up one whole thing of those and done enough quests and things, then you have a memory of your childhood that comes back, and it pieces back the story of you and your dad and your experience growing up and going to this campground. This was a surprisingly emotional little game, and it was really wonderful. I thought the graphics were adorable. The world was really nice, and you gained abilities as you would go throughout each of these memories. So then you could go back to the places that you had been before and be able to reach things and do things you couldn't do in those campsites before. So there was reason for you to go back and re-explore the areas that you'd already passed. This game was a delight. I think full price, it's like $20, but if it goes on sale, it's certainly worth it when it goes on sale. I feel like $20 is a little too steep, honestly, only because the gameplay is just not very much. So for this one, I think I'm going to put this at fun, but like at the very top of fun, because it's like, it's almost a new favorite. Next up, we have another replay game, and that's Stardew Valley. I love Stardew Valley. I'm not one of those people that can play Stardew Valley like ad nauseum for a year. Basically what I do is once a year I get the itch to play Stardew Valley, and I will go ahead and play it for, like, no joke, probably like 60 to 80 hours. I will play a farm up to Ginger Island, and then sometimes even past like some of the Ginger Island stuff. I've never fully completed Ginger Island, but I have gotten to like the forge in Ginger Island and stuff in my last playthrough. So it's just, oh my gosh, so much fun. This last one, I actually went the JoJo route for the first time instead of the community center route, and that was a very interesting experience. So I had so much fun with this game, and I am always amazed that Concerned Ape just continues to give us more and more and more updates. I really do want to get Haunted Chocolatier from him, but I do appreciate all the free updates that he gives us for Stardew Valley, because I bought this game on sale. I paid like $10 for this game. It's only $15 full price, And I have put hundreds of hours into this game over the past several years. And so I'm sure I'm about to get that itch because it's usually in January to February when everything feels bleak and cold and I'm just struggling. I need something cozy, I need something comforting, and I pick up Stardew Valley at the same time every single year. So I did that last year in February, and I feel like that's going to happen again this year. So this is a game that I have more than gotten my money's worth from. So Stardew Valley is going in my replay at the tippy top of the replay because I think it is probably my most replayed game and the game that I've put the most hours into on the Nintendo Switch. Next up is a cozy game that I don't even know who is talking about this because no one ever talks about this game, and it's really fun. It's called Stranded Sails. So in this game, you are a person who washes up after a shipwreck on an island, and you have to explore the island. So there's farming elements to it. There are friendship elements to it with the other people who have washed up from your ship, but it's also open world that you can just explore this island. And at a certain point, you get access to a boat to where you can go explore other like neighboring islands that are kind of like in this grouping of islands. And so I feel like it's really fun. The open world element really adds to it, in addition to the fact that like cooking is a very big part of this game. So you end up growing and receiving different ingredients, and when you do that, you can combine them and cook things, and different people like different foods more. And so your friendship ends up being upped with people as you cook things. Not that you have to go and give them to each person individually. It becomes like a community pot of stew. And so your points with the community increase the better the stew is. And so that's a really fun element as well. I can't tell you why I stopped playing this game. I think what happened is I started playing this game and I was loving it and I was playing it all the time. And then I think we went on vacation and I came back and got the itch to replay Breath of the Wild. And so I think I kind of forgot about it and didn't pick it up again, which is a shame. So now I'm like, I need to pick this up ASAP because I was having such a good time with it. This is one that I could see being a new favorite, but I don't know if I put enough hours in it to count it as that. So I'm going to put this actually at the tippy top of fun because I do think this is one that you could replay and get kind of different results based on different decisions that you make. But it's really fun and like super underrated, and I don't really hear people talk about it. Next up, we have a game that probably everyone has heard of, and I never played until this year, and that's Super Mario Odyssey. This was one of the first games that was released on the original Switch, and everyone told me I should play it. My nephew, who is huge into gaming, told me it's his favorite Mario game ever, and that I really needed to play it, and I didn't believe him. Not because I thought that he was wrong in his opinion, but because the clips I had seen of this game looked like it was so heavy on platforming, and platforming can be really fiddly and just maybe not something that I enjoy a lot of times, so I wasn't really drawn towards it. However, though platforming is an aspect of this game, this is the most fun Mario game I have ever played in my whole life. Like, it is so much fun. It's a 3D game. There is platforming, but there's so much fun and so many nods to previous Mario games, including, you know, Mario 64, but also like the original Super Mario Brothers. In this game, you also have a cap called Cappy. Not a very creative name, but you know, we can forgive that because the rest of the game is so creative. With this cap, you toss it onto things, whether that be enemies or some other things as well, and then you become that thing. So one of the first things that you get to become is a T-Rex. And so then you can smash through things and smash through enemies and all that kind of stuff. You can become Goombas. You can become just all kinds of different things. A lot of them are enemies, but not all of them. So it helps with your fighting, but like you can become a fish for the underwater levels and then be able to dive and not have to worry about your oxygen going out. It's just super creative. And the things are, you have to do different tasks to receive these things called power moons, which help power your ship, which is kind of like a hot air balloon. Even though the storyline is linear to an extent, it is also like each place that you go is totally open and you can explore. And so there are stereotypical ones, like there are lava levels, there are ice levels, there are water levels, but then there's also like this one that's like New Donk City, which is called the Big Banana instead of the Big Apple. And Pauline from Donkey Kong is the mayor. And that was actually my favorite level. I love that so much. But there's so many different places you can go, and you can get different costumes for Mario so he matches wherever he is. And that was really fun too. I just thought this game was so creative. So much fun. I absolutely loved it. I did beat the entire game, but I didn't complete everything about it. So there's a lot that you can do, and you can put a lot more hours into it than I did. But I had just such a fabulous time with this. This is definitely like a new favorite game, and it's going at the tippy top of that category. Next up, we have Tales from Autumn. This is another like pixel art cozy game that has to do with farming, sort of. There is farming involved, but it has more to do with like animal breeding. So you move to this town and you are able to capture different types of like mythical animals and stuff. And so that aspect actually felt a little bit more unique and fun, and I really liked it. But I also felt like there wasn't anything to really set this game apart and make me feel like I wanted to keep coming back to it. I think I picked it up twice, and that was pretty much it. I don't know, like it didn't really have anything to like keep me there. But I did only pay like $2 for it on an eShop sale. So I think if you can get it for $2, it's definitely worth trying, but I wasn't like super impressed with it. I didn't think it was bad. It wasn't like super glitchy or anything. Didn't feel like it was a waste of money, but it was just like not for me. I don't think it's one that I'm going to go back to. So while I was replaying Breath of the Wild, I kept thinking about all the things that I loved about Tears of the Kingdom and missed that weren't in Breath of the Wild. So after I finished Breath of the Wild, I had to replay Tears of the Kingdom. So you've probably heard of this game because it is, really popular. It's more recent than Breath of the Wild, but it's still a couple of years old. It's again an open world epic Zelda game that is just so much fun. I feel like it's Breath of the Wild 2.0 because there are things that you can do in this, abilities that you have, because one of the things that makes Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom challenging is that your weapons are not strong and they degrade and they break. But in Tears of the Kingdom, you can fuse your weapons to monster parts to make them more powerful, and I found that made me actually want to fight enemies more than I did in Breath of the Wild. In Breath of the Wild, I would avoid them because I didn't want my really good weapons to break. I wanted to save those for the bosses. But in Tears of the Kingdom, you want to beat enemies and you want to beat bigger and bigger enemies so that way you have better parts to fuse with your weapons. And so there's different things you can do. There are things that you can build. There are building mechanics and things that I think a lot of people didn't really like about this, as well as the fact that there is a lot of side quests. Far more than Breath of the Wild, to the point that when I replayed Breath of the Wild, it felt a little bit empty to me. I think most people have a clear favorite for themselves as to whether or not they prefer Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, and in case you couldn't tell, Tears of the Kingdom is my favorite of the two, so this is definitely going in the replay category because I did replay it. So it's going underneath Stardew Valley because I definitely haven't replayed it as much as Stardew Valley, and I don't think I will, but it was wonderful. Next up, we have a game that I am currently playing, and that is The Last Campfire. In this game, you play as Ember, this little creature who kind of ends up in this kind of like afterworld kind of situation. I don't know all what's going on with the story yet because I haven't beaten it yet. So in this, you are in this world and there are these creatures that are like you, but they're kind of frozen in place and look kind of dead. And they're called forlorns because they've lost hope. So when you go up to them and interact with them, then they have you go through this puzzle. You have to solve this puzzle to get to this flame. And when you can get the flame, it brings the spark back to their lives. It brings hope back to them and helps them be able to like move on. But the puzzles are really, really good. Some of them are really difficult and some of them aren't. It just depends. I tried to play it when I first purchased it for a couple of dollars and I couldn't figure out the first puzzle at all. I just could not. And this time something clicked in my brain better and it just worked better. And it was just, oh man, I really like it. It's a lot of fun. So for this one, I'm kind of doubting that this is going to end up being a new favorite, but it is really fun. I think I'll put it, I'm going to put it behind Is This Seat Taken? because I think Is This Seat Taken, like those puzzles like really scratched my brain more than The Last Campfire did, but The Last Campfire is still like a really solid game for puzzles if you like that. Next up, we have Tiny Bookshop, which is one of those games where the love of reading and the love of cozy gaming collide. In this game, you have a tiny bookshop that is attached to the back of your car, and you end up in this town where you go from location to location to sell your books. You restock your shelves every single morning so that way you're ready for your customers, and in different locations, the customers want different types of books. So if you're at the beach, there's a lot of children there. So you're going to sell a lot of children's books. You're going to sell a lot of like drama and crime because people want, light beachy reads. When you get to the university, they're going to want a lot of nonfiction and a lot of classics. And so it just depends where you are. So you want to pay attention to where you are, what kind of clientele you're going to have before you stock your shelves. People will come through and purchase your books, but the really fun thing is when people come in and they are looking for book recommendations. When they receive those recommendations, they'll ask you for something, like they'll say, I want this, and you have to find a book on your shelves that actually fits that recommendation to the best of your abilities. The really fun thing is that almost all the books in this game are in fact real books. So that made it so fun for me as a book lover that there's so many books that I'm like, I have read this book. Yes, this is the perfect book. And it was fun to be able to decorate my little tiny bookshop. And with those decorations also come buffs for certain things that you sell more of certain types of books with certain types of decorations. So that was really fun, really creative. I spent so much time playing this game and I didn't even 100% it. I was so surprised at the amount of content in this game that you have the daily, selling the books, but there are other storylines going on as well, ways that you can help other characters in the games, mysteries and things you're trying to solve. So there was so much to this game and I was really surprised. That was not what I was anticipating at all. In case you couldn't tell, this is one of my favorite games of the year, and it's really hard for me to tell whether or not I like this or Super Mario Odyssey more. I think I'm going to say that this is a little bit below Super Mario Odyssey, but honestly, barely. If you ask me on a different day, those two games could be swapped. And the last game on this list is another one that I didn't play for that long, but I played long enough that I felt like I could include it, and that's Wavetale. This game has very different mechanics from what I'm used to, and also a very different art style. And so you're in this world that is kind of like flooded, and you have to ride the waves and go across the waves to find different things and go on different quests and those kinds of things. And again, I didn't play this for very long, so I feel like it's one that I really need to revisit. It was a similar situation where I started playing it and then we went out of town and then I came back and started doing something else. So it's the same kind of thing that happened with Neva. But I didn't enjoy it as much as Neva, and I don't know if I will go back to this. If it's in fun, it's at the very end of it. I don't know. It feels a little bit more like maybe not for me, but it wasn't like a bad game, which I guess the not for me games, it's not that they're bad games. I might actually pick up Wavetale again, but I feel like I didn't have like so much fun playing it. So I feel like compared to the other games in the fun category, it just doesn't hold its own there. So I'm going to put it in the not for me. Well, I'm going to go ahead and put up on the screen my final tier ranking of the video games that I played in 2025. Some of these might change depending on the day, but most of them would stay in the same category. The only one that might not is, I feel like Wavetale. Maybe it should be in fun. I don't know. But I think the other ones are staying there. I didn't have a ton of new favorites this year, but I did have a lot that I replayed also. And so all of the ones that I replayed are favorites. So I feel like having 7 games that I just like absolutely like obsessively loved feels pretty good. I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. Have you played these games before? If so, was your experience different than mine? I hope that you enjoyed all of the video games that you played in 2025, and I would love to hear some of your favorites, whether they're cozy games or not that cozy, whatever that looks like for you, whatever kind of games you like to play. I would love to hear what some of your favorites were in 2025. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more bookish content from me, and occasionally video game content as well, and other content. And I will see you tomorrow for another one of the 12 Days of Christmas.